and podcasts like this. And anytime I talk about caregiving, I try to encourage people to try it. Don't find out that someone's in trouble and just shuttle them off to some room or some facility to be cared for by people that don't love them the way you do. If you have the room and the space in your house and your heart, bring them. And you will find that you can do it. I did it knowing nothing. And it literally, you learn how to love. Think about everybody that has kids. I don't have kids, but everyone that has kids, they're bringing that little baby home. They don't know what they're doing. And yet all of these humans survive.
This episode was brought to you by Alloy Health and Rivian. Today, we're diving into Alzheimer's and caregiving with my guest, the brilliant and beloved actress, Yvette Nicole Brown. Many of you know her from the hit series Community, and one of my all-time favorites, her unforgettable appearances on A Black Lady Sketch Show. I love that. But today, she's here to share her journey as a daughter, as a caregiver, and the lessons she's learned along the way. So welcome to the Second Opinion, Yvette.
Thank you, Dr. Sharon. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you. And, this is a topic that's very, very important to me. And unfortunately, I don't have parents, but I have elderly siblings, believe it or not. And I am also watching so many of my friends who are negotiating caregiving with their elderly parents. And I really understand the toll that it takes. So, Yvette, I'd like to start with your personal journey into caregiving. How did you get here?
Well, I was working on a show called Community. We were in our fifth season, and I started to notice that my dad was back home in Ohio, and I noticed that he was being forgetful. He was forgetting things. He was repeating himself. It was and I didn't know a lot about dementia and Alzheimer's. Besides the fact that my grandfather, his dad, had it and had passed of it, but I didn't know yet that it was genetic. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew Dad was having some issues. So I went home to see about him and to help him retire because the issues had been causing so much trouble that his job was becoming an issue because he was making mistakes on the job, which he had never done in 30 some years. And as I was getting him retired, I was on my way back home on my way to the airport to fly home, and he called me and he couldn't find the binder that had all of his papers, his social card, like everything that made him him was in this binder. And I had just left him and he did not know what he did with it. And that clicked. I said, something is terribly wrong with him. So within the next 3 or 4 months, I told myself, once Community is canceled, I'm going to Cleveland, I'm getting him and I'm bringing him home. And Community got canceled, and Community got canceled on a Friday. By that Monday, I was in Cleveland grabbing my dad. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what his diagnosis was. I just knew that whatever he was facing, it would be better for him to be facing it with me.
Let me just say this. You're a fantastic daughter for that quickness of tending to your dad.
Thank you.
But can I ask you just a question? At this point, how old was your dad?
My dad was 71 when he was diagnosed, because he's 83 now. So he was 71. And I say when diagnosed, he actually didn't get diagnosed for another, I would say maybe year. They were calling it dementia at first. And then they did all the scans and all the tests. And then it came back that it was actually Alzheimer's, which is, my greatest fear because I saw what my granddad had gone through with it. So I knew that it was going to be a journey for me and him.
And how old was your grandfather when it was noticed that he had dementia as well?
I think he passed around 86. So I think it was maybe 75 for him because my aunt, my dad's sister took care of my granddad. So I remember her on that journey. It felt like she was on that journey for at least a decade. So I would say that it was probably 74, 75 when he was diagnosed.
Now, do you have siblings in Cleveland?
I have a brother. I have an older brother. He's here in LA. Everybody moved out west. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there wasn't an option for someone else to sort of step in. But you did the right thing. You went and got your dad.
My cousins really took care of him, and he had a wonderful neighbor, Miss Pearl. I will think kindly of her the rest of my life. She and Meals on Wheels and my cousins that were still in Ohio did a lot to carry my dad for those 2 or 3 months between me worrying about him and the show getting canceled. So,
Okay, so looking back, if you had to say, you noticed it that one time, but if you had to now, knowing what you know, if you look back and you say, well, when did you first realize that maybe something was amiss?
Probably, I would say within that same year, because what I've also learned about dementia and Alzheimer's diagnosis, uh, people are scared and they mask. They're aware
Mhm.
that something's not quite right, but they don't want anyone to think that something's not quite right.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of, uh, I use the word hiding, but I don't want to make it seem like it's sinister.
Yeah,
But there's a
I
lot
get it.
of things that people that are forgetful, and we'll just say that's what it is at the beginning. They don't want people to worry. They don't want their autonomy taken away. And so they don't really let people know. So it was a while before I even knew that dad was having problems at work. The one thing that did get me early, though, is I was visiting before the time when I went home to help him retire. I visited before that, and my dad got lost coming to my Aunt Mickey's house.
Mhm.
And my dad had been coming to my Aunt Mickey's house for 40 years.
Mhm.
So the idea that he would turn on the wrong street or go in the wrong direction on a freeway like that, it makes no sense that he would do that. That was the very first inkling I had that what do you
Mhm.
mean you're on this street? That's not near Mickey's house. So it was a journey for both of us.
Good friend of mine, Dr. Lisa Mosconi, I don't know if you've
Mhm.
heard her, but
I have.
she does a lot of she's a neuroscientist and she does research into Alzheimer's and particularly
Mhm.
Alzheimer's in women.
Yeah.
And she said when she described Alzheimer's to me, it's sort of like, how certain things hit home a little differently
Mhm.
when you hear it said that way.
Yeah.
And I think the way she described it, she said Alzheimer's is a progressive, irreversible
Yeah.
neurologic disease that manifests itself later in life, but actually it begins in midlife.
Wow.
And for most people, even before the time that you realize that
Mhm.
something is really happening, that process has been going on for a decade or more
Wow.
before. And so that's why I think it's so important that, when you know your family history, you at least sort of say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, okay, well, let me look out for this." But the and what I really want to say is that for all of us as we get older and for all of us who have a family history, there's no downside
Right.
in just getting an evaluation.
Right. Well,
Um,
have you heard it called diabetes 3? Type
yeah,
3 diabetes?
yeah.
I've been researching everything about it since my dad's diagnosis, and just the idea that sugar and the way our body processes
Mhm.
sugar can greatly affect the chances of you getting Alzheimer's or the severity of it when you get it. So I'm just like, I'm a type 2 diabetic as well. I'm in
Mhm.
remission. You know, found out that eating all those donuts every day on the set of Community could probably lead to a diabetes diagnosis. So I stopped doing that.
Mhm.
And when I lost weight, my diabetes went into remission. I'm not on metformin anymore, and I don't have insulin or anything like that. But at the same time, I do know that my body does not process insulin or sugar the way that it should. So that's now got me concerned. Like, oh gosh, like what am I doing to my brain?
Well, let me
Yeah.
ask you this. Did your dad have other risk factors?
He didn't. My
In
dad is healthy as a horse. He never really drank. He never smoked. He doesn't have high blood pressure. He doesn't have high cholesterol. He was like a health food nut his entire life. He was going to health food stores when there was like only one in a city. He would find the one, and that would be where he got all of his supplements, whatever. So this
Mhm.
happening to him, and also beyond that, everyone else in my dad's family on his side, besides my granddad, died of cancer. Every
Yeah,
single person, my
yeah,
grandmother, and all three of my aunt and my two uncles all died of cancer. My dad doesn't have cancer. So
yeah.
he literally got everything else okay except for the thing that granddad had.
Do you think that Alzheimer's was a concern of his that might
Mm-mm.
have led to some he wasn't even that
I
wasn't on the
don't know
radar?
because I don't remember in the 70s and 80s them really we didn't have the internet. So no one
Mhm,
was really
mhm,
diagnosing themselves, and my granddad hadn't been diagnosed yet.
mhm.
My dad just always he had a stint of time where he was in the Nation of Islam, and they are very health conscious. So I think that might have been the thing that spurred him down the health road initially. And I think he just liked how he felt living leaner and cleaner.
Mhm.
It was not a reaction to any fear about what might be coming for him.
It's almost a distinction, a difference without, much of a distinction without a difference when you say that when we think of Alzheimer's, we call everything Alzheimer's,
Right.
but there is dementia, of
Mhm.
which Alzheimer's is the most
The
common
most
cause,
common.
the most common, but there are other causes of dementia, and probably for Black people, more of an issue, and that is the same things that put you at risk for cardiovascular disease, put you at risk for Alzheimer's. And sometimes the dementia is something that develops slowly and cumulatively, because sometimes it's just the accumulation of small strokes.
Wow.
And yeah. Because,
Can you
it's
warn me
easy.
before we go there? Can you ease me into that? My goodness.
But I mean, that's the good news.
Yeah.
And there really is some good news about that, because strokes, we know how to prevent strokes and how to, decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease and all of this. We don't really know what causes Alzheimer's.
Right.
We don't know. It's sort of, and for a lot of people, Alzheimer's ends up being the diagnosis that you come to once you've ruled out all the other things.
Others. Right.
Because we don't have a good screening test really for Alzheimer's. One of the things that I want to know is about your concerns, because given that you have a grandfather and you have a father who have had dementia, how is that informed how you are moving forward? And what is the advice that your medical providers have given you about things that you can do to prevent your risk?
The same things that could prevent me from getting Alzheimer's are the same things that could, keep my cholesterol down and me keep my diabetes from flaring back up. So I'm aware that I need to eat, lean meats, and I need to eat more vegetables, and I need to, sleep better and not eat fried foods. It's all the stuff that we all know. Insofar as what I'm concerned about myself, and maybe I'm delusional, but I'm going to choose to believe that it ran through the male side of the family line. I'm going to choose to believe that. And I know I'm delusional, but I'm going to believe that. And I'm going to make sure that I have saved my money and lived my life in such a way that if it does come for me, that I don't end up being a burden for anyone, because I don't have kids. If I had a daughter myself, I'd be like, baby girl, get ready to take mama in. But I don't have kids. So I don't want to end up being a ward of the state or end up being, left to just fester in some nursing home. So I'm doing what I can do now financially to make sure, and making sure that it's covered in my my trust and my will, that money is set aside for me to be put into a boarding care or a memory care facility of a close family member or friend's choosing that they think is worthy of me. And I do a lot of work with the Motion Picture Television Fund, which is a great charity out here that is like the life raft for people in the industry. And so I've already staked out my little cottage there or in the memory care unit. So I'm making plans for if it comes for me. I can't really do anything aside from just trying to keep my health where it needs to be, hoping that it doesn't come for me. But there's so many things that could befall us in life. I can't live my life worried about something that may or may not come for me.
All right. So I want to get back to your dad.
Sure.
And you said your dad. Now, you went and got your dad, brought him to LA. And at that point, you don't know what to do or how long this is going to be indefinite. And you took care of your dad for 11 years?
11 and a half years. I had him with me in the home with me for 11 and a half years. He had a fall a year ago and broke his hip and initially could walk again. He went through rehab at the hospital and was doing great with his physical therapy. When he went to the rehab nursing facility, they dropped the ball in regards to his rehabilitation. And so then the dementia told him, I believe that's what happened, that he couldn't walk anymore. And he just stopped walking, stopped trying. So once that happened, I could no longer be his full-time caregiver because it involved lifts and diaper changes and all the things that I was prepared to learn how to do. And then the social worker that I had kind of grabbed me and shook me by the shoulders and said, listen, you could leave your career and become a nurse and take care of your father, but you have to ask yourself, what would your father prefer that you do? Would he prefer that you be his nursemaid or his daughter? And I said, his daughter. And would he want you to give up your dreams and your life to change diapers and transfer him from his bed to a chair? Or would he want you to come and spend time with him and watch movies with him after all of that has been done by someone who is actually good at it? He said, no one will love your dad as much as you love your dad, but there are people that can care for your dad at this point better than you can. So why don't you show the love of a daughter and release your dad to the people that can actually care for him the way he needs it? So that was revelatory for me. That opened my eyes to the fact that me wanting to be superhuman and do everything for my dad was not the best for my dad. I hadn't even thought about whether it was the best for me, but I knew for sure at this juncture it was not the best for my dad. So that allowed me to release my hold. He's been in an amazing board and care with amazing caregivers for the last year. It's like 15 minutes from my house. I see him all the time. And it's nice to know that if I have to leave town for work or I'm working late, I'm not on the phone scrambling like who can get to daddy or is daddy okay? It's a sense of peace that I haven't had for like the last 6 or 7 years as his dementia or his Alzheimer's has gotten worse.
This episode of The Second Opinion with Dr. Sharon is brought to you by Alloy Health. My favorite saying is, there are no accidents in the universe. 5 years ago, my friend Michelle Obama invited me on her podcast to discuss menopause. So this is a full circle moment. She very honestly discussed her menopausal symptoms and what she chose to do about them. Michelle Obama was one of the first famous people to admit that, yes, I had debilitating hot flashes and drenching sweats, and I did something about it. What she didn't do was suffer through it. By normalizing this conversation, she took the shame and stigma out of menopause. Believe it or not, that exact conversation was the catalyst that led me to becoming the chief medical advisor at Alloy Health. The founders of Alloy Health, Ann Fullenwater and Monica Mollenauer, heard that conversation and tracked me down, and I am glad they did. After nearly 30 years of private practice, Alloy Health has allowed me to leverage my expertise, not just to my patients one-on-one, but has given me the opportunity to bring this information to women everywhere. My whole career has been about helping women feel empowered to advocate for their health. And Alloy was created with this specifically in mind. Join the 95% of women who tried Alloy and saw relief in the first 2 weeks. Head to myalloy.com and tell them all about your symptoms, and you'll get a fully customized treatment plan. And you'll get $25 off your first order today when you use code TSO25. Head to myalloy.com and enter code TSO25 to get $25 off your first order. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Rivian and their all-electric, full-size SUVs and trucks made for all of life's adventures. Rivian just announced their all-new Rivian Quad, their fastest, most capable vehicle yet. Powered by 4 motors, 1 for each wheel, it gives you unmatched traction, control, and performance anywhere you are. On winding roads or off-road trails, the Quad is engineered for precision driving and maximum adventure. With a native NACS port, the Quad is compatible with 50,000 DC fast chargers, so getting back on the road is hassle-free. With beautifully designed interiors, tons of storage, and incredible capability inside and out, the Quad is made for everyday comfort and rugged utility. Plus, you'll love the tech. The Rivian experience gets better over time with software updates. The premium audio experience sounds as good as the ride feels. Premium audio is part of the Sound Plus Vision package in quad and tri vehicles and can be a paid upgrade in dual models. And the Rivian Autonomy Platform Plus, a paid subscription product, offers a full suite of advanced safety and driver assistance features. There is adaptive cruise control, active lane keeping, blind spot monitoring, and forward collision warning with automatic emergency braking. Check out the all-new, all-electric quad truck or SUV and the full lineup of vehicles now at Rivian.com. I've always believed in preparation, preparing your body, your mind, and your resources, especially when it comes to your health. But the truth is, no matter how healthy you are, life can surprise you. And for many, that surprise can come in the form of a cancer diagnosis. And when that moment hits, you're suddenly navigating a whole new world. Doctor's visits, treatment schedules, tough decisions, and then there's the cost. because many don't realize that health insurance wasn't designed to cover everything. And that can leave a gap, meaning not enough to cover all out-of-pocket expenses. That's where Aflac comes in to help. You might know them as the famous duck, but they're more than that. Aflac has been a pioneer in cancer insurance since 1957, paying cash directly to you unless otherwise assigned to help with the costs from diagnosis through recovery. If you're not financially prepared or if cancer runs in your family, Aflac is worth looking into. You can't predict the future, but you can better prepare for it. Get help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. Visit aflac.com/cancer to learn more. As a physician and a mother who treasures time with family and friends, I know how important it is to slow down and make room for the moments that really matter. One of my favorite memories is a trip I took with good girlfriends to connect on where we were in our lives. So instead of booking separate hotel rooms, we found a beautiful Airbnb home where we could stay all under one roof. We cooked together, laughed together, and shared our stories. Maintaining our relationships is how we have kept close and grown our friendship circle over the decades. Those moments of closeness are what makes travel so meaningful. Airbnb makes it possible to choose a place that truly fits the occasion, whether that's a cozy apartment for a quick getaway or a spacious home for family celebrations. And while my family has been guests, we've also experienced the other side of Airbnb as hosts. It's been wonderful to see how opening your home can bring joy to others and help make travel more personal. Hosting is not only a way to share your space, but also a way to discover the value in it. You may be surprised what your home could be worth while you're away. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host. So, Yvette, even when you've sort of made the decision that you want to care for your loved one in the house, you can't be there 24/7.
No.
So how do you find someone, a caregiver, to help you take care of your loved one?
First of all, we're facing a crisis in America in regards to caregiving. I don't want to get political, and I will not get political on this podcast, but there have been things that have been put in place that are going to make a lot more people need care in homes. A lot of the nursing facilities will be closing. Right. There's a Medicaid and Medicare is going to be affected. And so that means a lot of people will no longer be able to get the help they need to be in a home. So that means more people will have to be in the home with family members. There's a lot of organizations. There's a place for mom, care.com, Ai-jen Poo, who has this great organization called Caring Across Generations. They have a lot of resources. So there's a lot of resources to help you find where you can place your loved one. On my podcast, Squeezed, we try to share those resources, and we also, not to alarm people, but we try to explain what we're going to be facing as a nation in the next few years, and the crisis of care that is coming. We're going to have to move back into communities. We're going to have to move back into, the nice lady down the street that who took care of kids when she was younger can now come over and help you with your mom or your dad. Like, you're going to have to literally create a village to help you. I found, again, going back to MPTF, I found my social workers and the company that helped me find a great caregiver named Savannah that was with me and my dad when we were in the interim stages, when I was trying to find, when he had first fallen, and I was trying to find the right rehab facility for him and then the right board and care for him later. Savannah was there to fill in the gap. So if I had to go to work, Savannah would come and sit with my dad. Or if I was out of town, Savannah would go every day and stay with my dad at the rehab facility. So that was a great help. And that company that introduced me to Savannah was found through MPTF, Motion Picture Television Fund. But there are a lot of places that will steer you in the right direction. And most of them are free. There's no cost for them to help you, which is really great.
And, culturally, and I get it. Most of us, who've grown up and looking at parents and grandparents, and you realize that there's a certain amount. We don't have a model for, that type of care because, and certainly in my family, when people got old, they would come and live with you.
Absolutely.
My grandfather lived with us, aunties lived with us. And But the difference was back in those days that people didn't live that long after
Mhm.
a certain point. You know what I
Right.
mean? So the notion that someone would be with you for that long. So it brings for us, it's a certain amount of there's guilt
Mhm.
that's associated
For
with
sure.
thinking that somehow you failed your
Mhm.
parents because you
Absolutely.
haven't been there for them.
Mhm.
Um, but what I want to say is that, the caregiving, and I think that the social worker that you talked to gave you the best advice
I
ever
agree.
because, you know, caregiving is two things. It's an act of love, which we all want to be able to share, but it's also a tremendous weight.
It is.
It's a weight on you.
Mhm.
And, I watched my oldest sister and her husband had, he was on dialysis, and
Mhm.
he had chronically, health problems for years. And for the last 5 years of his life, she was there
Mhm.
24/7, taking care, make sure. And he died
Mhm.
at 61. And little over a year later, at 63, my sister died. Now, she
Mm.
was fine. It
Yeah, she
wasn't
was
as if
tired.
she had a
Yeah.
problem or
But it
whether
weighs
that
on you.
it does.
It
And
weighs on you.
it gets back to what I was talking about, that chronic stress of having to deal with
Mhm.
that. And then, you've got to at least keep that into account. I want everybody to realize that if you can, and again, if you can afford it, because here's also the other part of that. We can talk about, okay, yeah, you should do this, put them in a nice facility, but Alzheimer's and memory care units are expensive.
Yeah.
They're incredibly expensive. And, I was just doing a little research for that, and they said that the memory care centers run about $7,700 a month. Um, and if you are and that's just sort of average. So, it depends on where you live. LA, it may be more than that. And that's why for a lot of families, putting them someplace where they can be safe and well cared for is sometimes not financially an option.
I never wanted to put my dad or my mom in a home. My thought was if they need me, I'm going to be there for them. And I am grateful that I was able to take care of my dad for 11 and a half years and would still be caring for him now if I could.
Mhm,
The guilt that's a part of it um, is unhealthy. And what I
mhm,
tell people all the time is
mhm,
that it's not y- feeling bad about not being able to do more when
mhm,
you're doing all that you humanly can is
mhm,
detrimental to your spirit. And it
mhm,
also doesn't help you when you're dealing with your caregivee. You know what I mean? The time that I
mhm,
spend with
right.
my dad is celebratory, it's restorative, it's peaceful. And I don't ever want to go in there. And I never went into his room apologizing because I had to go to work or whatever.
Mhm,
And he never needed that from me. He
mhm,
said to me one time, one of the sweetest things he said to me, and also one of the saddest things I heard him say, is I don't even know what I was doing for him. I was doing something for him in the morning before I was going to work. And he said, Yvette, how did you get this job? And I said, Daddy, I applied. I petitioned. I fought for this job. I will continue
mhm,
to fight for this job. And it's just the feeling that he could not grasp that I would want to feed
mhm,
him and bathe
mhm,
him and make sure
mhm,
he had as many viewings of the 5 heartbeats as I could get for
mhm,
him. His mind couldn't grasp it.
mhm,
And that was heartbreaking for me because why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? Like, you my dude, you my daddy. Of course I got your back in the best way, in any way that I can. I got him. You know, I was the gift that the social worker gave me in that day is that he reminded me of what my dad would have said to me if my dad was
mhm,
able. If my
mhm,
dad was able, he would say, don't you miss one thing for me.
mhm,
Don't you slow down one thing for me. I'm going to be fine. He would say to me what my mom used to say to me when she was alive. I didn't live my life, girl. You didn't go on out there and do whatever you want to do. I'm good. That's how my parents were. They gave me everything I needed to fly, and then they expected me to fly. So taking a detour, as some would say, to care for my dad for 11 years was the best tough decision I've ever made, or the toughest, best decision I've ever made, which is the way I describe it. And I try through my podcast, Squeezed, which is all about caregiving, and podcasts like this. And anytime I talk about caregiving, I try to encourage people to try it. Don't find out that someone's in trouble and just shuttle them off to some room or some facility to be cared for by people that don't love them the way you do. If you have the room and the space in your house and your heart, bring them. And you will find that you can do it. I did it knowing nothing. And it literally, you learn how to love. Think about everybody that has kids. I don't have kids, but everyone that has kids, they're bringing that little baby home. They don't know what they're doing. And yet all of these humans survive. So we all figure out, you're hungry, you have to go to the bathroom, you need to go to bed. You learn how to care for someone. And so whether they're your 72 or 71-year-old parent or your 7-week-old child, you're going to figure it out. And so just figure it out and learn how to expand your heart to love more. That's what caregiving is, just loving.
So I want to talk again a little bit more about how you think it affected you. And again, 11 and a half years and 11 and a half years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And do you think that, caring for your father, and I know this is what you wanted to do and this is your choice, but looking at it now, do you think that had any effect on your health in those 11 and a half years?
I won't know until I get whatever diagnosis is going to, find me in 10 years. I had diabetes before he came, so he didn't cause diabetes. I feel like being on the set of Community caused that because I ate a lot of donuts on Community. But everything else, I can't blame high cholesterol on Daddy because I do enjoy a French fry. I enjoy a piece of potato that has been fried. So I can't even blame that on Daddy. So I don't see... I think the toll that it's taken on my body stress-wise might be a bigger issue, that I will stay focused on. But again, I say I wouldn't change a thing. So even if I do have 2 or 3 less years to live because I cared for my dad, take the years. It was the best decision I've ever made, and I don't regret it.
You are such a great daughter.
I love my daddy and my mama.
I love that. I love
good people. It was good people.
So I want to know, what advice would you give families who are preparing for this? Let's just say, you have, even before something has happened.
I got lots of advice.
Before.
First thing, you got to get a durable power of attorney for financial things and for medical things. And you need to talk to your older parents, older aunts and uncles, who you might end up having to care for, and let them know that it's not something that takes away their autonomy now. It's something that'll kick in only when needed. And when it's needed, you don't have time to go get paperwork or whatever, especially if it's dementia. There's certain things they can't sign after a certain point. So you have got to get their permission to care for them while they're still able to give you permission to do that. So that's first. Even beyond that, financially, when my dad came to live with me, the bank account I opened for him in California was with his and my name on it. I don't touch his money, but if something happens and I need to write a check or whatever, I don't have to try to figure out if he can still sign his name. I can sign a check myself because my name's on that account as well. So that's important too. Make sure you let your friends know what you're about to do, so that you have a group of people that will check on you and send you a casserole. They still make casseroles. I'm so old. Send you something to nosh on when you need it, or they'll come over and sit with your caregiver when you need a break. Because even though I joke about not understanding what self-care is necessary. So you still have to go get a massage every now and again. Stop by and get some coffee and sip some lemonade, get your nails done, go see a movie, go in a bookstore and sit down and read a book, or a library. There's certain things that you have to do that allow you to still feel like a functioning human being. There are some that exercise. I've heard that exercise is nice as well. So maybe go and take a walk somewhere or get on a treadmill. There's things that you need to do to make sure you remain okay. And then aside from that, just lean in and love your person.
Yeah. And it's truth. There's truth to what they say when they say you can't pour from an empty cup.
You can't.
If you've got nothing, how are you going to give to someone else when you haven't taken care of yourself?
Absolutely.
So I want to know, what are you doing to take care of yourself now that we know all these things? And
absolutely nothing. The greatest self-care thing I did was marrying my husband, Tony. He is the most loving, caring human being on the planet. So as I am a caregiver to my dad, Tony is 100% a caregiver for me.
Yeah.
So he brings me my tea in the morning. He cooks almost every meal that we eat. He helps me with my dad. He helps me with our dog, Harley. So that has been finding a partner, being blessed to find a partner has been a wonderful self-care gift for myself. And I am getting better at saying no to things. I'm heavily scheduled. I have this one day talking to you. This is my second podcast today that I'm doing. I also have
Mhm.
a podcast I do myself. So I did tracking and,
Mhm.
recording the intros and outros for my own podcast. All of that was just today. So I have to get to the point where I learn to say, let's block off these 3 days.
Mhm.
I don't do anything on these 3 days so that my mind can reset. So that's
Mhm.
things like that I am trying to learn to do for myself. But I haven't figured it out yet because, again, as a caregiver, you're so focused on the other person, and rightfully so. Same thing with parents.
Mhm.
Ask a parent of a newborn or a toddler how much they've slept. What was
Mhm.
the last good meal they had or the last massage they had? They can't tell you because they're so focused on the other person.
Mhm.
So it's not great, but it's what we do.
So what brings you joy? What fills your cup?
Knowing that I did well by my dad and my mom makes me very happy. I've always lived my life trying to get that well done from God on my last moment. I want to get up there and he go, "You did it. You did it, Yvette. Come on in." So I'm trying to get that. And so every decision that I make, how I move through life, how I treat people, how I carry myself is all lined up in wanting to be an asset, not a liability. So what brings me joy is knowing that I can look back on my life and know that I never stabbed anybody in the back. I've never stepped on anybody to get ahead. And I
Mhm.
honored my mother and father. That
See.
brings me great joy. I already said Tony and my dog bring me joy. Building Lego brings me joy. Celebrating other people and their wins brings me joy. A good night's sleep. I'm a simple
Yeah.
girl. I'm a kid from East Cleveland. Simple things. Give me
Yeah.
some good lemonade and a good night's rest and a hug from Tony, and I'm pretty much golden.
Well, this is fantastic. And Yvette, I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story. And I
Thank you.
hope that your story will not only inspire others, but also give them the encouragement and resources that they need. So, we are all going to be in this spot one way or the other. But the one
Yeah.
thing I always say, though, you say you don't have kids. And I say this to my friends who don't have children. I said, okay, well, I have three. But
Okay. You never know.
if you see me and I'm in one of their houses, you just have to say something terribly went wrong with Sharon's life.
Because you're going to do what you got to do to not be there too.
I don't, yeah, that's my plan is
Yeah.
to not do that and to kind of take care. So all of these, sort of Alzheimer's and cardiovascular prevention tips that we're leaving you with,
Yeah.
just know that you want to be good until you're not. And
Yeah.
please know that, you don't have to just leave it up to fate to know whether or not that's going to happen. So
Can
Yvette,
I plug Squeezed one more time? Because
of course.
we have a season 2 coming up. I'm in
Okay.
the process right now of recording my interviews and all the intros and outros. It's going to be a great season. One of the things that we're going to talk about that I think might be really interesting because we didn't talk about it in the first season is what happens when you're a caregiver for a parent that wasn't there for you.
Ah,
And what
yeah.
that does to your psyche,
Mhm.
which I think is important because, like you said just a second ago, before we leave here, each of us will either be a caregiver or a caregivee. That's just the way the statistics are going to
Mhm.
play out. So that means there's a chance that you're going to be taking care of someone that maybe you're not that close to, and maybe somebody's going to be taking care of you that are not that close to you. How do you navigate that, especially if there's some feelings involved? So that's one side of it, and then we're going to talk to a couple of people we talked to last season, and it's really going to be another great opportunity for people to find out more about what it means to be a caregiver.
Wonderful. Thank you for being
Thank
here, Yvette.
you.
And look, and we had a Black Lady podcast.
Yes, we
Okay.
did. Clap, clap. We sure did.
Okay, so we've reached the part of the podcast where I give my doctor's orders. Number 1, genetics is not destiny. Anywhere from 30 to 50% of dementia cases are preventable. So start your Alzheimer's and dementia prevention now. Number 2, preparation makes the hard moments less overwhelming. Do the work ahead of time. Get your paperwork, powers of attorney, access to financial information, and even do not resuscitate orders. Get them on record and have those tough conversations. Number 3, self-care is survival, not selfishness. Taking care of yourself is what allows you to keep showing up for others. Alzheimer's is a family issue, and caregiving is one of the hardest, most loving things we can do. With planning, support, and self-care, no one has to face this journey alone. Keep joining each week on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts as I break down medical topics and leave you with expert advice. If you enjoyed the show, follow us so you never miss an episode. If you like what you hear, leave a review. Until next week, take care.